Good day to everyone. So today I will discuss to you the overview of juvenile delinquency and the juvenile justice system. So as Kenny Gwynn said that the best service to the child is the service closest to the child, and children who are victims of neglect, abuse, and abandonment must not also be victims of bureaucracy. They deserve our devoted attention, not our divided attention. So, a lot of reasons were drawn as to why delinquency among the juveniles is augmenting. Likewise, criticism against the law enforcement agencies on why youthful offenses continue to proliferate. So, as a reminder from one of our heroes quote, Dr. Jose Rizal, he said that the youth is the hope of the fatherland. So yet I think the excerpt is being conferred due to hysterical involvement of young individuals to various undesirable activities, making them anti-social. So what makes them such a delinquent? So if there are causes, that what are they and what are the theories that may elucidate juvenile delinquency? So these are just the basic questions which, if answered, might or may enlighten our understanding on juvenile misbehavior issues. So today, for many young people, traditional patterns guiding the relationships and transitions between family, school, and work are being challenged. So social relations that ensure a smooth process of socialization are collapsing. The lifestyle trajectories are becoming more varied and less predictable. So the restructuring of the labor market, the extension of the maturity gap. Pag sinabi nating maturity gap is the period of dependence of young adults on the family, and arguably the more limited opportunities to become an independent adult. They are all changes influencing relationships with family and friends. Also, educational opportunities and choices, the labor market participation, leisure activities, and the lifestyle. So it is not only the developed countries that are facing this situation. In developing countries, as well, there are new pressures on young people undergoing the transition from childhood to independence. So the rapid population growth, the unavailability of housing and support services, poverty, what else? Unemployment and underemployment among youth, the decline in the authority of local communities, and also overcrowding in poor urban areas, the disintegration of the family, and ineffective educational systems. These are some of the pressures young people must deal with. But youth nowadays, regardless of gender, social origin, or country of origin, are subject to individual risk, but are also being presented with new individual opportunities. So what are these opportunities? These opportunities, some is beneficial, and some is potentially harm. So quite often, advantage is being taken of illegal opportunities as young people commit various offenses. They become addicted to drugs, or they use violence against their peers. So young people who are at risk of becoming delinquent often live in difficult circumstances. Okay. So children who for various reasons including poverty, parental alcoholism, the overcrowding, breakdown of the family, abusive conditions in the homes, and also the growing HIV/AIDS scores and or death of parents during armed conflicts, and also orphans or unaccompanied and are without the means of subsistence, housing, and other basic necessities. So these are the greatest risk, okay, of falling into juvenile delinquency. So the problem of juvenile delinquency is becoming more complicated and universal, and crime prevention programs are either unequipped to deal with the present realities or do not exist. So in many developing countries have done little or nothing to deal with these problems, and international programs are obviously insufficient. So the developed countries are engaged in activities aimed at juvenile crime prevention, but the overall effect of this program is rather weak because the mechanism in place are often inadequate to address the existing situation. So on the whole, current efforts to fight juvenile delinquency are characterized by the lack of systematic action and the absence of task-oriented and effective social work with both offenders and victims, whether real or potential. So next is the historical background of in juvenile delinquency and juvenile justice system. So the Code of Hammurabi was the first comprehensive description of a system used by society to regulate behavior and at the same time punish those who disobey the rules. So the main principle of this code was that the strong shall not injure the weak. Okay. So it is the origin of legal principle of lex talionis, that is eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Okay. So Code of Hammurabi, it established a social order based on individual rights. Okay. So another one is the General Court of Massachusetts. So this in 1641, okay, the General Court of Massachusetts passed the Stubborn Law, okay, which stated that children who disobeyed their parents could be put to death. So that is the Stubborn Law. So this stubborn law was based on the Puritans' belief that acknowledged social evils would bring the wrath of God down upon the entire colony. And the Puritans believed that they had no choice but to respond to juvenile misbehavior in a strict and calculated way. But on the other hand, Puritans believed children were born sinful and should submit to adult authority and hard labor. Okay? But in 1646, 46, the Virginia General Assembly passed a law to prevent the sloth and idleness. Okay. So in the American post-colonial patterns of delinquency, so once a children had become special, new children only laws were passed. Okay. There was an increasing demand on the state to take responsibility for improving the lives of children, and eventually new regulation, so such as the child labor laws were enacted. So in 1916, the United States Congress passed the Keating-Owen Act. So this is the first piece of child labor in America. Though it was overturned 2 years after 2 years through the case of Hammer and Dagenhart. So it did lay the groundwork for the passage in 1938 of the Fair Labor Standard Act. Okay. Moreover, today every state has established its own child labor laws. Pati din dito sa Pilipinas, meron din tayong child labor law. Okay. So, but in the middle 19th century, it also included the child saving movement. So this concerned citizens eventually formed a social activist group, okay, called the Child Savers. So the Child Savers believed that children were born good and became bad. So juvenile children were blamed on bad environments. So the best way to save children, according to this Child Saver group, it was to get them out of bad homes and place in good ones. Okay. So, according to child savers, parents of juveniles who should be sterilized to prevent further members of the dangerous class from being born eugenic. So, it was in the political climate that the doctrine of parens patriae was created, and it became a significant influence on the development of juvenile justice, which came from the feudal period of England. When we say parens patriae, it is the right and responsibility of the government to take care of minors and other who cannot legally take care of themselves. Okay. The government has the responsibility to take care of minors in case na yung mga magulang or guardian hindi nila kayang ibigay yung mga basic needs. Okay. So in 1818, committee reports listed juvenile delinquency as a major cause of pauperism. Okay. The first public recognition of the term juvenile delinquency. Okay. And in 1899, the Illinois legislature passed a law establishing a juvenile court that became the cornerstone for juvenile justice throughout the United States. So the first juvenile courts function as administrative agencies of the circuit or district courts and were mandated as such by legislative action. So the vision of the child savers and the founders of the juvenile court was the rehabilitative ideal of reforming children instead of punishing them. So, according to the 1899 Illinois Juvenile Court Act, so this was provision was to have both an investigative and rehabilitative function. Okay. So that is on the American post-colonial pattern of delinquency. So with this, the historical and philosophical roots of juvenile justice system, okay, one is stressing the social contract, the prevention of crime, and the need to make any punishment fit the crime committed. So these are the philosophical roots of the juvenile justice system. So what are the purposes of juvenile justice system during the mid of 20th century? So these are the following. We have the institutionalization, diversion, due process, and decriminalization. So although diversion was heralded by many, it also had some negative aspect. So many youngsters who earlier would have been simply released were instead being referred to the new system of diversionary program that had sprung up. So this process is referred to as the widening to as a net widening. So many of the diversionary programs did achieve success. Okay. So the three factors that have been traced earlier as youth services programs. So meron na silang programs to juvenile delinquents doon. So one is the police-based nature of the program. Second is the use of counseling in a law enforcement setting and the skills approach to training and treatment. So these are the earliest youth services program to suppress juvenile delinquency. So there is also the what we call house of correction for juvenile delinquent. So first is the Bridewells. So the Bridewells, it was the first house of corrections in England. So they confined both children and adults considered to be idle and disorderly. But as the time progressed, conditions in the Bridewells and the other places of confinement became so deplorable that several individuals demanded reform. Okay. Another one is the Hospice of San Michel or Saint Michael. So this was established in 1704. Okay. So John Howard, a reformer, I should say, brought to England from Rome a model of the first institution for treating offenders. Okay, so this was the Hospice of Saint Michael, and John Howard often taught us the father of prison reform. So another house of correction for juvenile delinquent is the House of Refuge. So it was situated in New York in 1825 and it was open to house juvenile delinquent who are defined in its charter as youth convicted criminal offenses or found in vagrancy. Okay. By the middle of the 19th century, many states either built reform school or converted their house of refuge to reform school. So therefore, the reform school emphasize formal schooling, but they are also retrain large workshop and continues the contract system of labor. So the House of Refuge, okay, it houses juvenile delinquents, okay, for youth convicted of criminal offenses or found in vagrancy. Next is the what we call juvenile delinquency. In the Philippines, under our Philippine Constitution, so the states recognize the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. So, and it shall inculcate in the youth patriotism and nationalism and encourage their involvement in public and civic affairs. So that is in the Philippine Constitution. So the context of the fundamental law has clearly stated the indispensable role of the youth toward a healthier development of our country. The 1987 Constitutional Commission, however, put an intense care and value to the hopes of our fatherland, commanding the state to shield the interests of young men and not to consent them in becoming a menace of the society. Nevertheless, I wish to credit our concerned government agencies with reference to their passionate and tireless effort in saving our youth from criminality. So in addition, the following may somehow help the readers of this piece to understand more what juvenile delinquency all about. Okay. So in the Philippine juvenile delinquency, the problems of street children and juvenile delinquents are much related social problems. Okay, to survive in the street, you almost have to become delinquent, exposed to criminal elements. So these children are vulnerable to prostitution, drug addiction, ano pa, and pushing and drug addiction and pushing and also commission of crimes. So in the Philippines, most street children have become juvenile delinquents either out of necessity. Anong ibig sabihin ng either out of necessity? Because they are poor or true force. Ano yung true force? Because of the syndicate. Okay. So young people in the street are also criminalized and stigmatized for no obvious crime committed. So many times the streets were cleaned up at the start of the tourist season, and as a consequence, many street children were jailed because of vagrancy laws. So a large problem arose from the treatment accorded to the juveniles when they were placed in jail. So most juvenile delinquents were not segregated from the hardened adult criminals in the biggest jails in the Philippines. Kung mapapansin natin, in the jail system in the Philippines, kung minsan naihalo na yung mga minors dun sa mga adult offender. Kaya mas lalong nagiging criminal na yung isang minor de edad. Okay? Such as in the Muntinlupa jail outside Metro Manila. Okay? So, after the release, they went back in the street with more knowledge of crime na kasi marami silang natutunan sa mga adult offender na kanilang nakasama sa loob ng kulungan. So this severely hampered the social integration of the youth offenders after they left prison. So chances were high that these young offenders would become chronic delinquents and eventually hardened criminals. Okay. So what is delinquency? So when we say delinquency, this is any behavior that is prohibited by the law of the state. Okay. Yun yung mga tinatawag nating delinquency. Okay. Any behavior that is prohibited by the juvenile law of the state. Okay. So what about juvenile delinquency? So juvenile delinquency refers to the criminal acts performed by juveniles. Most legal system prescribe specific procedure for dealing with juveniles. So such as juvenile detention centers. Okay. Youth crime is an aspect of crime which receive great attention from the news media and politicians. So, and also juvenile delinquency is an antisocial behavior or act which differs from the normal model of set of laws and parameters, cultures, custom in society, which society in broad spectrum does not conform, and generally to youth behavior which is against norm and regulation of the society, which if left unchecked would give the rise to criminality. Okay, kapag hindi natin napigilan, kaya habang bata pa yung hindi magandang pag-ugali, it would rise to criminality. So, who is a delinquent? So, when we say a delinquent is one who repeatedly commits crime. However, these juvenile delinquents could most likely have mental disorders, behavioral issues, such as schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress, or bipolar disorder. So, yan yung mga tinatawag nating juvenile delinquent. Okay, delinquent or juvenile delinquent. Okay, how about deviant behavior? So, deviant behavior refers to a behavior that does not conform to norms. Okay, yung hindi akma sa panuntunan ng isang community. Okay, these are behavior that in some ways do not meet with the expectations of a group or of society as a whole. Although this may sound to be a simple description of what deviant behavior is, understanding what could constitute specific types of deviant behavior faces many problems and ambiguities. So it is therefore important to consider that deviant behavior is relative to many factors and conditions which are complex and may be complicated to understand. So what make what may help us understand, okay, or what should be the consideration, or what are the consideration, okay, para maintindihan natin, okay, ano ba yung kinukonsidera natin para maintindihan natin yung tinatawag natin deviant behavior. So the following may help us understand our consideration of what deviant behavior is. So first is in terms of time. Okay, when I say in terms of time, the meaning of deviance changes through the years. Okay, for example, is it was socially unacceptable to see girls drinking beer or teenagers and women smoking. Okay? All these are not heavily considered now as deviant behavior. So another one is in terms of place or geography. So being deviant varies according to geographic area. Okay, an example is an open prostitution is a deviant in the Philippines, but not in some countries. Some countries have open red light districts where customers can have their choice. So masasabi nating dito sa Pilipinas, deviant behavior yung open prostitution, pero sa ibang lugar ay hindi yan deviant. They are accepted. Okay. So, juvenile delinquency as a male phenomenon. Youth crime is disproportionately committed by young men. So feminist theories and others have examined why this is the case. So one suggestion is that of masculinity may make young men more likely to offend. Being tough, powerful, aggressive, daring, and competitive may be a way of young men expressing their masculinity. So acting out the ideals may make young men more likely to engage in antisocial and criminal behavior. Okay? So alternatively, rather young men acting as they do because of societal pressure to conform to masculine ideals. Okay? Young men may actually be naturally more aggressive, daring, etc. and as well as biological or psychological factors. Okay? The way young men are treated by their parents make them more susceptible to offending. Okay? So kaya tinatawag natin juvenile delinquency as a male phenomenon. Okay. So what are the risk factors? So first is the individual risk factors. Individual psychological or behavioral risk factors that may make offending more likely include the intelligence, impulsiveness, or the inability to delay gratification, aggression, empathy, and restlessness. Okay? So children with low intelligence are likely to do worse in school, yung mababa ang IQ. This may increase the chances of offending because low educational attainment, a low attachment to school, and low educational aspirations are all risk factor for offending themselves. So children who perform poorly at school are also more likely to truant. Ano yung truant? Okay, nagkakating classes, absenteeism, okay, which is also linked to offending. Okay. So impulsiveness is seen by some as the key aspect of a child's personality that predicts offending. However, it is not clear whether this aspect of personality are a result of deficits in executive function of the brain or a result of parental influences or other social factors. So that is the individual risk factor. How about the family environment? One reason there are so many juvenile delinquents today is that their parents didn't burn their bridges behind them. Okay? Children brought up by lone parents are more likely to start offending than those who live with two natural parents. So conflict between a child's parent is also much more closely linked to offending than being raised by a lone parent. So if a child has low parental supervision, they are much more likely to offend. Okay. So what are the factors or family factors that influence in offending a child Okay. So these are the following. One is the level of parental supervision, parental conflict or separation, parental abuse or neglect, the way parents discipline a child, criminal parents or sibling, or the quality of the relationship. So these are the family factors, okay, that influence in offending a child. Okay? Pag magulong pamilya, yan. Separation, abuse, parental abuse. Okay, yung paano natin disiplinahin yung mga anak. Okay. So these are the factors in the family. Okay, kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng mga tinatawag na juvenile delinquents na mga anak. Okay, next is gang. What is a gang? So the term gang is frequently associated with groups in socially disorganized and deteriorated inner city neighborhoods. So it is applied to youths who are engaged in a variety of delinquencies ranging from truancy, street brawls, okay, beer running to race riots, okay, robberies, and other serious crime. Ito yung tinatawag nating gang. Okay? So, the gang is also characterized by the following types of behavior. One is meeting face-to-face, milling, movement through space as a unit, conflict, and planning. So, the result of this collective behavior is the development of tradition and reflective internal structure, esprit de corps, solidarity, moral, group awareness, and attachment to a local territory. But in 1950s, the gang was broadly defined as a friendship group of adolescents who share common interests with a more or less clearly defined territory in which most of the members live. So they are committed to defending one another, the territory, and the gang name in the status setting fights that occur in school and on the streets. Okay, another one is a youth gang is a self-performing union of peers bound together by mutual interest with the identifiable leadership, well-developed lines of authority, and other organizational features who act in concert to achieve specific purposes which generally include to conduct of illegal activity and control over territory, facility, or type of enterprises. So ito yung mga tinatawag nating gang. Okay? Fraternity. So what are the characteristic of a gang? One is organization, leadership, turf or territory, and cohesiveness. When we say organization, this states that a gang or a gang member has collective goal. So dito sa Pilipinas, it may include the Akyat Bahay Gang and other gang and the like. Okay? Leadership. They have leaders that may decide matters related to the organization. Okay? Yung territory or yung turf na tinatawag natin. Okay? It involves identification and control. Okay? Identify places like parks, housing project, or school to impose their illegal acts. So crossing turf boundaries and entering another gang's territory often clearly marked by graffiti. Okay? Involve taking serious risk. Okay? Yung mga iba't ibang gang, naglalagay sila ng mga graffiti para malaman na yun ay kanilang territory. And the cohesiveness, it refers to gangs very close, tight-knit organization with loyal members bound to one another by mutual friendship and common interests. Okay? So the gang suppression could be attained through the use of laws and that will allow authorities to change gang use with the basic criminal offenses against person, property, and public order. So there are some suppression made by our law enforcement agencies. Okay. In some states, especially in the United States, one of the most common strategies in the neighborhood is the neighborhood sweep. Okay, in which officers sweep through a neighborhood, arresting and detaining known or suspected gang members. So the other strategy involved is the hot spot targeting of known gang members and their hideouts. Okay. So these are the overview of the juvenile delinquency, and by next meeting are the theories of crime and delinquency. So thank you and God bless.